welcome, welcome. This is No Right, No Wrong. My name is CT Dice, and I'm back again with another episode. I'm excited about to have another conversation, a very enlightening conversation as well. And I'm excited to get into it. And I have a guest with me that I'm excited about. I'm in Lagos, Nigeria, so I'm excited. Basically home, and with me I have Precious. Hey, there should be an applause for that, but I have Precious.
Snapple, make sure you put what do they call that thing?
An applause, right?
If you don't clap for me,
Yeah,
clap
so
for myself.
CIP in the house. I'm excited about this conversation.
Glad to be here.
Nice to have you here. Do you want to introduce yourself to people that
My
might
name is
not be?
Precious. Now you don't talk and
I don't talk but they also need to know about the other things
when
that
you ask me question, I answer. My name is Precious.
Yes, welcome
It's
guys.
simple.
Yes, welcome Precious to the show. This is No Right, No Wrong. I'm
I
excited.
would like to say this is no right, no wrong, but the so right, so wrong edition with Precious.
This should be interesting. This should be fun. The one thing I know for sure about what you do is that you're an on-air personality.
I really do not like to
Okay.
be called an on-air personality, to be honest.
So it's the one that the
Yes,
people
I
actually
don't
refer you
think-
to.
that thing is maybe I'm not a Gen Z person.
Okay.
I'm not a modern person. I'm a bit old school, so
Okay.
I don't like to call it. I don't like to call myself an on-air personality. I think it's overinflated.
Okay.
I like to keep it as a journalist.
As a journalist.
Better still, I call myself a broadcast journalist.
Oh.
It's a safer place to be because this on-air personality thing. Everybody you see now on-air personality. Everybody on-air personality. Not the ones that can talk well, the ones that cannot talk well, the ones that talk through their nose with mixed tenses. Everybody on. Sorry, this is not taking a jab at anyone, but I like to be called a broadcast journalist instead.
Okay, so I would correct myself there. So I have Precious, the broadcast journalist, here in the house. Which is interesting because what you said is actually interesting about it being used for everybody. If you just call it on-air personality, these days you cannot take your phone and you're not an on-air personality. You go live on social media, you're an on-air personality.
You're a
because
media personality on on-air personality. Everybody, it's
everybody it
I
is.
think it's watering the profession.
I know, right? For people that actually take it up and that's what they do every day. Everybody now can be.
For people who have learned the craft. See our people talk, say, waiting you learn. You better pass it to you carry juju get. So
I hope people understand that.
I think it does a lot of disservice for those who actually did take out their time to learn the craft.
Oh, okay.
When you just have every random person answer on their personality, not like they are not deserving.
Yeah.
But I think that it's better. What is even on air personality?
That your
that is a personality that is like a witch.
That you're on air.
That is on air.
It's been broadcasted somehow.
So you're a witch now.
Yeah, but no, that's interesting. So basically, what I wanted to get into was now I can't use on-air personality, so I will use broadcast.
No, but it's okay. That's why if it's your comfort zone.
It's
what you're used to.
Even though what generation am I in? I'm not sure. I think I am more of the generation that is in between what was there before and what is actually basically social media now.
You see, is it these people that were given? In fact, I'm curious to see what the ones that they're giving birth to now will become. Because if these people can be like this, oh my goodness, it's something else. Let's not even go there. Let's focus on our focus.
On our focus today is let's find out a little bit about you. I'm kind of curious to go back a little bit to know how you got into being a broadcast journalist.
Okay.
Just going back to how you got into it, your passion for it, and how you got into becoming a broadcaster. The basically defining moments that made you choose this career path.
Okay, so first of all, as you're talking about, I'm actually feeling very shy. One of the things people may not know about so many people they think that are outspoken is the fact that a lot of us are actually very shy. Right. So in case I feel I tweak or twitch or do some stuff, just know that shame they catch me, but just they carry open eye they cover up. I'm shy. So right, for me, I think I don't want to say that broadcasting was inherent for me. It was like something that everyone around me knew that I would become. I tell you a little story. My father, I'm sure you know that all of us had old school fathers that were glued to their radio.
Yeah.
Right? So my father will always listen to his radio. And then a couple of times when these girls will be talking, so on radio, and so say, shut up your mouth, don't worry, my daughter will come and she'll be talking more than you on radio. You know, he
Yeah.
says that. And then a few times when I was young, I heard him say that in my mind, I'm like, don't worry, I'll talk more than you because I was a talker. And
Yeah.
as you can notice, I'm a very fast talker. In fact, I used to talk so fast that my dad had this habit of always asking us to narrate what played out in school each day when we come back
Mm.
from school. And don't ask me for my turn because in 2 seconds I'll be done
But
in
you've
my
said so
narration.
much.
And I've said so much.
Yeah.
So what my dad would do, he just watch me talk. In fact, he makes me sit on his legs and then talk. After talking, be like, "Are you done?" I say, "Yes, it's okay." Okay. Start again. This time, follow the pace of my hand, the beat of my hands, and then talk. So, what did you say happened in school today? Make sure you're not faster than my hands. That's the most crippling thing anyone can do to you.
When you want to get
when
it
you want
all
to get,
out.
of course, and you know that this is your nature. So going back to how I became a broadcast journalist, yeah, my father always thought that I could do it. I don't even know why. He just felt like, don't worry, my daughter is coming up. I should be a journalist. I was a child
He
all along.
noticed you talking a lot.
Yes. And then I got into university. Okay, so I'll start from school. Both primary and secondary school, for those who have been my classmates in those places, would realize that I'm one of the few persons that when a teacher asks questions, they would probably tell me once in a while to come in front of the class to narrate. Don't tell me it's because I'm petty. Maybe because they don't see me well.
maybe you're hiding at the back and they want to make sure that you see it clearly.
But then the worst thing you do is to tell me, come to the front and explain. I end up being a teacher. Like I narrate and practically teach. So the bottom line is that I've always been a talker.
Yeah.
And then while I got into the university, I remember the few friends telling me, look, what are you doing? You should be a journalist. You should be a radio presenter. I remember one person, a senior colleague, then I call his name, Annie Amagburuju, always said that to me. You should be a journalist. You should be a radio presenter. You have the voice. You have a good voice. I didn't even know I have a good voice. You know how you can have something.
How does that happen that people have talent around with them and they
So
didn't
you
know?
know how you can have something. So I don't know what part of my voice, I don't know what it is about my voice that is good enough for radio. I don't know. But I shall know that I like to talk.
Yeah.
You know. So and then So I was told you should be on radio. And that started like from my certificate program in the university up to my year one. So and then I found myself that's when the interest started. So I then found myself, I think it was after my year one or year two break, we were to have like, then University of Port Harcourt introduced this compulsory IT thing.
Oh, you went to University
Yes,
of
I
Port
did.
Harcourt. I
I've been
picked
in
that
Port
up.
Harcourt. I've been in Port
PH boy, I have to present. So you know all about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So by the way, I studied theatre at University of Port Harcourt, so I'm
Yeah.
a crabbites. That's what we call ourselves. so I we had this 2 years, this break, small IT break that we were to do, and some colleagues and I served our IT then in NTA.
NTA Port
NTA
Harcourt.
Port Harcourt. And in fact, I was the last to get to that NTA thing because every other person did have gotten their, somewhere to hang on to, but I wasn't able to get. So I had to plead with some of my colleagues who had the space in NTA, please talk to them for me now, please now, let me do now. So I got there. And those friends of mine, usually those classmates of mine, had a program that they used to go join in Treasure FM. Treasure FM shared the same building with NTA in Port Harcourt. They still share the same building.
I think so. Yeah.
And Treasure FM is a Radio Nigeria station, right? So they usually go during lunch for a lunchtime program in Treasure FM. They feature them as students in the show. And I didn't join them for the show. I wasn't part of it. So I would usually stay back in NTA, to help out. So then I started, because you put your eyes on the ground or to the ground, you get to know a few things. So I remember a day that an independent producer walked into the station, and I think some of the tech guys and, people at the MCR then were not around. And the person asked, he came with a VCR recorder, that's olden days tape, and said, I want to dub this, I want to extract the audio. You understand? So I think a couple of people who were there was like, hey, how do we do this? We're finding it difficult to do it. So what I just quickly did is that, okay, I said, I think I can help. And I was an IT girl, so we found a way. I helped them find a way to like play the video while extracting the audio into another source. You understand? And the independent producer guy was like, you're smart. You're a young lady. You're smart. I just came from Benin and I have an independent show I want to be presenting in that Treasure FM. Would you mind joining me? That was the trouble he looks for. Because after then, the life of radio never remained the same.
After pressure has actually graced it.
So basically that was how I introduced. So I started co-presenting with him. It was a marketing radio show, so
Yeah.
an independent marketing show. So I was co-presenting with him. It was Pidgin English, by the way. Oh, before that time, for the
Pidgin English on Treasure FM.
oh yes. So
Oh,
you know,
that's interesting because I thought the first Pidgin English on radio was when Wazobia came in.
no.
They were doing Pidgin English stuff
So you never knew Bumare Kosima? You say you're in Port Harcourt. Bumare Kosima, radio reverse. Bumare
and was
Kosima is
doing it
making
all in Pidgin.
Boma Ere Kosima made a lot of money as a Pidgin English. He's the one who starts us with proverbs now.
Yeah, I remember
My
from.
country people. What are you talking about?
I remember it started from Smart Dawn.
Why you why? Okay, sorry. I don't want to tell you your generation, but it's okay. It's fine.
Okay.
No, now. So we have people who had made it, and then most stations now. Wazobia started with full Pidgin English all programming.
Yeah,
But there are stations who were doing
a little
switching.
bit.
They had programs in Pidgin. They also had English programs,
Oh,
and that was what Treasure FM had at that time. So, but before then, I think while I was in NTA, the lady who was presenting their kiddies program, this monthly children birthday program, had asked that I help co-present with her.
I think I remember that show on Sundays.
They used to call it darlings of the month.
Darlings of the month. Then it was like
Say,
any kid that did not
come
have
to
a
darlings
darlings of the
you never
month.
do birthday that month.
And then I think I kind of can replay the music in my head like that starts.
So you see, so
Yeah.
I think I started first with co-presenting Darlings of the Month with her. And then before this independent production thing. So Darlings of the Month was English. And of course, you know, my mouth is very sharp with English. And then this other guy was like, but this way you're doing like this, are you sure you can speak Pidgin? You sound so, I said,
Sounds
go
so
try
like
it now. Go try
posh.
it. When I enter Pidgin, that's how, in fact, when I started presenting the show for the independent producer, I do remember that the then GM of the place was like, let's look for a program for her. Let's look for a program for her. You know, so they now carved a program I used to do during the weekend because I was still a student.
Yeah.
That program, what's the name of that program now? I used to present it alongside two comedians. One was Marvelous Daddy Saro, and I think Amas Bere Bofa. So it was like a Saturday lounging thing
Yeah.
where, you know, we talked about basically everything and nothing humorously and all that. So basically that's how my journey on radio started.
Oh no, that's beautiful. Even knowing that it started from Port Harcourt and stuff like that, I didn't actually know that. So
Yes,
that's
I did.
actually a very
Yes, I
interesting
did.
information to actually know.
Yes, I did.
But that's great. But now you've been doing this for how long now?
So the whole journey started in 2002. So that's about 20
Over 21 years.
21 years now.
That's been a while. And how
It's been a
how would you say the industry has evolved right from when you came in to where it is right now?
It has evolved. Because, you know, I started broadcasting from the days when you would hardly find, you would hardly play a Nigerian song. That's one of the things that, you know, caught my attention, or the growth or development that caught my attention. We hardly did have Nigerian music in our library to play, if not high life, you know, apart from the high lives and all that. So basically, all them Timaya and all that, we have and blue for Port Harcourt then.
I
because
don't
we live
know.
in
Them
Port
mama,
Harcourt then.
them papa.
Do you know? So and then gradually the Two Face, Plantation Boys, and then we started, you know, then we used to play them sparingly, mix them with, you know, foreign music and all that. But look at us today. I bet you radio stations in Nigeria can play Nigerian songs
All day.
48 hours without remembering, say, Drake, the sing song.
That's
know,
true. And
you
there's
know,
so much
so-
good music out there too. It's not just playing the
I
songs
agree.
for the sake of it.
Of course. And then again, Nigeria is also growing in genre. So you have people who, when you like it soft, they could go for an Asha. A Chike is also a good one. You know,
Alternative music.
alternative, there are alternative songs that people will rely on, depend on your mood. You know, depending on your mood. So it's good. So yeah, I would say that music is one thing that I noticed that have evolved. But something that I do not quite enjoy that has also and that the industry has experienced is the fact that we get to have, or we had a lot of people, or we've had recently a lot of people jump into the profession untrained.
Okay.
So for us then in broadcasting, you know, even before they let you enter mic, you don't observe. They let you observe, you know how it is done, and then they will even make you go through the rudiments of, oh, you must attend training schools and at least one or two trainings and all that. But these days, I think that radio stations started by having to employ people who they think have an accent.
Okay.
or who can speak in twisted tongues beyond, people who are actually very trained on the
What
job.
would
So,
training entail in like in that kind of like broadcast journalism?
so
What would be the skills you would need to acquire? Because I think what now happened is people now basically thought you didn't require training, that anybody can just wake up and start talking, right?
absolutely. So, in the midst of the fun fair, we forget that there is a profession behind the fun fair.
Yeah.
You understand? Every job does have its ethics. Every job has its rules and regulation. For broadcast presentation or broadcasting in Nigeria generally, you're binded by a rule.
Yeah.
And from all that we know till today, the NBC code is like a Bible, a binding force for everyone who's a broadcast journalist. And if NBC was actually sanctioning stations according to how we break the law, I'm
Yeah.
not sure any station would actually survive it, because there's a lot in the code that stations barely abide by. For instance, the NBC code does not demand that a presenter should be opinionated. You're supposed
Okay.
to just, present an issue as it is in the news. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to take sides. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to air your opinion. But you
Yeah.
know what you hear on radio these
It's
days.
basically only opinion, right?
It's only that's all we. Do you
Yeah.
understand? So, there's actually a lot to it. There are rules,
Is it
but people
possible?
don't remember these rules.
Is it possible the radio stations are kind of also competing with alternative forms of streaming?
Oh,
Bec-
recently they are. I do agree. Recently they are, and if you notice, most of the radio stations are also struggling to also go conventional,
Yeah,
because most of them are already having YouTube presence and
yeah,
having podcasts, or cutting out their stuffs into different podcasts and putting up in streaming platforms and all that.
yeah.
Because if they don't do them, me and you go sit down here, they talk, make money pass radio station.
Yes.
Do
Now,
you
I
understand?
just think
So
it's so much more accessible now compared to when it was the
absolutely.
mainstream way to actually
Absolutely.
get information and
Absolutely.
entertainment
Absolutely.
across.
But then what that has done is that it has watered down the profession. So
Yeah.
every person now becomes a journalist. Now people no longer verify their stories before they carry. You can stay
Mm,
anywhere you want, insult anybody, and put it up on your YouTube or your any platform, and you carry it.
mhm.
It's yes, there's no authenticity to most of the information that is passed out anymore, because I mean everyone is looking at crews, make money, who gets views
Views.
and all
Yeah.
of that. So that's the downside of it.
Oh, yeah, and it's more like entertainment sales, right? People most times don't even want to know if it's real or not. If it's the most exciting story, then they
It
want
jumps, they
to.
jump on it, so it doesn't matter.
Then they
And that
want
is
to.
risky. That is
But,
risky.
but the thing, what I wanted to find out in terms of that is that is there not a way to kind of separate opinions and actual news or actual journalism?
So
In
there are actually ways to separate opinion from views.
Yeah,
Um, not for terrestrial broadcasting. For your podcast, for instance, now,
yeah,
I could decide to analyze the PEPT judgment
yeah,
on my podcast or on my vlog
yeah.
on YouTube. And I'll say, this is my honest, sincere
Open,
thoughts.
yeah,
These people for doing like this, they for not doing like this. It would have been this way instead of this way and all that. This is my view. But then if it's proper analysis, what I'm supposed to do is to present the facts as it happened in the PEPT and various angles to it, and then
mm,
take the different reactions from authorities.
mm,
So, like what other lawyers have said, what the warring parties have said, so you x-ray the different opinions and
mm.
then let your crowd choose where they want to be.
So basically,
So
you
you have
take,
done justice to the entire information.
yeah,
So that's why in programming in radio, you don't look at just a topic. When you look at a topic, you look at different angles to a topic.
mm,
So that's what we call them angle.
yeah,
So when you follow read, you go like this, you branch, you
yeah,
tilt. So just like you have a tree does have different branches.
branches,
So
yeah,
that tells you that there are different ways people view a conversation. So
yeah,
you're able to pick out those different ways that people may view that conversation.
yeah.
That's what makes a conversation interesting, because
Interesting,
you're
yeah.
giving them like an idea of, okay, so how about if you had seen it this way, for those who will see this way too, and how about those who follow straight line, stuff like that.
And,
So
why I say that is something like my podcast. Even though you want to set out facts, it's mainly opinions and perspectives, right,
mm,
from different sides, a different space. I'm not really a journalist. I'm not. I don't
So I like
verify
what you're doing, but at least you're inviting people who probably know what they're doing in their
in
profession,
their professions
which makes sense.
to give their perspective outside of what.
Fantastic. But you're
Yeah.
not coming now to tell me that what you know about your profession is superior to what I know about my own.
Oh no,
Do you
no.
understand? Neither are you
Basically, no.
telling me that, oh, maybe because you know that I'm grounded in media. You cannot
Mhm.
tell me that, oh, what's your opinion in the media supersedes mine.
I think
You
that's what
understand?
a lot
So
of people do, but it's not really. There are so many factors that go into what people actually know about the industries that they are in, right? Like for me, it's more about the podcasting thing. Traditional media, radio and stuff like that. There's nothing I know about it, right? So you want to talk to people that have actually done it. And for me, it's very curious to get the perspective,
I
right,
like
of
that.
how even the people that were in TV and radio, how they are adjusted to the new media, because it is here to stay, right? And also what you can also learn in terms of, even though you're a new media kind of person, what you
Yeah.
can learn from what people have been doing before in terms of either fact checking or stuff like that.
So fact checking is actually a big deal, is a thing, and I think that we take it for granted. If only we did know that, little things like that can actually cause a lot of chaos rather,
Mhm.
and throw a country in disarray,
Yeah.
then we'll learn to actually ensure that we fact check,
Check things more.
before we go ahead with them. So it's one of the things. That's another downside of this, exploding industry,
Yeah.
because the industry is basically exploding.
Yeah.
And
In as much as it gives people a platform to express their opinion, it also puts a lot of misinformation there because a lot of people
I
really
do agree.
don't know enough about what they're saying,
I do
right?
I do agree. So that's the thing. So the terrestrial or the normal broadcasting almost makes what you call the on air personality an authentic voice.
Yeah.
So they you when you listen to someone talk on TV or radio, there's some sort of authenticity to what they're saying. So even if you don't believe them before, you won't believe them. Now radio, I hear them now.
Yeah.
Have you not seen those days that would never believe the time in our clock in our house, except radio says it's 4 o'clock? So
And
we'll
that
not
has
go and
been
marry the 4 o'clock in our okay, it's
okay.
four. This time not correct. The radio saying at 4. So maybe the person who said that time then is 4 o'clock in the studio may have skipped 1 minute
Yeah.
past and said it's 4 o'clock. But because it's coming from radio, in your mind,
It is what it
it
is.
is what it is. It's correct.
And in a space like this now,
Mm.
how do people actually identify what is correct information or not? Because everybody can come and tell you, my own time told me 4:05 and not 4 o'clock.
So
And if you believe that person, you just
at your
go
own
with it.
peril.
Yeah, exactly. Your own Now there are so many voices out in the industry, right? Is there something that can be done, or what people can be looking at to differentiate opinion based information and factual based information based on that society that we're talking about?
So it still takes us back to the old school. So sometimes, if there are lots of information flying around, one way that you can verify its authenticity is for you to look back at those old school media platforms.
Yeah.
What have they said about it? There are sometimes you get news flying and trending on Twitter, but channels never carry them.
Yeah.
AIT never carry them.
So what
This
is the
so
process that channels and AIT would have to go
because
through
they
to verify?
verify, they call the sources.
Okay.
I would not take anything on my show, on radio or TV, if I don't call the authorities or people related to that event. I would have to call them to find out.
To
So thing.
verify.
You
Yeah.
have to verify. You can't carry an information that you
But
do not
but
verify.
this is the thing. The new wave media, first to get it out is who makes the money.
That's the thing.
The
But then,
speed.
but then it's also a huge risk,
Yeah.
because there's a risk of putting out the wrong information out there, which is very injurious to the society. So
Because I was also planning to ask you misconceptions about what broadcast journalists on air personalities. Would that be Could it be possible that people are actually looking at the industry as a little bit not sure whether to trust it because of the new voices coming into it and the lack of verification and the authenticity in the industry?
I do agree. So there is a little bit of people are now, I mean, if I wear them, I would be too. So even if
Yeah.
I'm wearing an industry, I'll be a bit more careful to consume and assimilate information I get out there. Because I'm in the industry, I understand how some of those information are gotten and how, just about anybody now jumps on those things and
Yeah.
spread them. So it's very difficult to have to consume those information and take them hook, line, and sinker because it's dangerous.
Mm.
And yeah, so the most to do is to ensure that, okay, if I have seen this information, let me check from two, three verifiable sources.
Mm.
Don't also quote me wrong because this is a podcast. I'm going to say the truth.
Yeah.
There are also times when, if it's news that's got to do with government,
Mm.
they may want to control that information.
Yeah.
So they would probably have those terrestrial media platforms not carry it because them carrying it authenticates the information. So have you ever seen something that you know that is true, that is trending because there are evidences that it is
Mm.
true, but major media platforms are not carrying it?
How much because you talked about the NBC code, right? Like the whole code. How much of that is actually veered through the government controlling the
It's the
narrative?
government now. See, don't even go there. If we follow the things written in the NBC code, the laws therein, it's as if you're walking in an eggshell if you are talking on air.
Yeah.
Because the laws control not just what you say as a presenter,
Mm.
it controls what your guests will say because you're supposed to manage your guests and what they say so that they will not go and talk anyhow.
Mm.
You understand? It also controls what your callers should say.
Mm.
They cannot say anything that would be sensational.
Yeah.
So anything that's about sensationalism, it's a no
It's not
no.
supposed to be said
Yes.
or whatever.
Anything that would make a particular party look bad. Like
Mm.
if I'm saying something now that will make you look bad. This Tinubu is a wicked man. Why did he do this law?
You're not supposed to
It
be
will look
saying
like
this.
you're making somebody, oh, now you're going to like encourage people to hate Tinubu and see him as a wicked man. So
Mm.
it's actually a no-no if we go by the rules. So
Mm.
that's what I'm saying, that in as much as people are thinking that, oh, NBC, it's like Nigerian media is stifled and all that, NBC is not even living up to their work.
Mm.
As much that is in their code.
Code, right?
If they
To
lived up to it, I'm not sure that media houses will cough. So I think it's still pretty liberal
yeah.
at the meantime, and I think we better leave it that way for balance.
Oh.
Because if you don't, so that's why they say African leaders wield a lot of power. So they
Yeah.
have power to do anything that they want. They have power to what you can say and what you cannot say. Some people may think, there's that one got to me when I was in Port Harcourt. That's media thing. Media girls now. They need to stay one place. They need to stay one place. Abba. Even ordinary girls need to stay one place. It's not only media people that can waka waka. Even ordinary people need to stay one place. And there are actually media people that gum their leg one place. You know why? Because character trait is not a question of the job you do. Neither is it about your tribe or religion. It's a personality thing. So if people have different characters, it is because they are who they are and not because their job rubbed off on them. Mm-mm. So please, you guys, quit that, narrative. Media men, media guys, yeah. You see, I know where this conversation is coming from because media people can be very, you don't want to go, you cannot be a born again and think straight in a media house. Because when you say, for instance, give me your fork, cutlery to hold, like, give me your fork. Give me so you can twist that thing and twist your head and God deliver your soul that day you're not fasting. Do you understand? But then the fact that they can go all that way and play all that way doesn't actually mean that, everyone is that naughty in
Yeah.
real time. So
Yeah.
we're just people who talk to talk. So we don't necessarily do the do. A few people do the
There,
do,
there used to
but
be
not
the
all of them.
narrative that the people that talk the most are the ones that do the least. But the ones that do the most don't want to talk too much because they
These ones. So all these 9 to 5 guys are oil workers that are keeping quiet like this. All those driller guys that go out and come here and be doing quiet. Fear them. Fear them. Yeah, if they lock on up a room, if they lock in a room with them, guys, they drill the hell out of you. They're not drilling oil for nothing. They drill out your destiny.
No, but that's interesting though, because people will be like, if you're confident enough and you keep talking all the time, you're probably the super outgoing,
Yeah.
you enjoy it. But sometimes it's they're not as forward. That's what you're trying to say, or
Yes.
stuck, yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
as it might seem. No,
Yeah.
but that's interesting. I would think that would be a misconception that I would have as well. I would think that if you want to be on screen, you want to talk all day, you are probably
No.
doing it a lot. So basically, in the industry, right?
Mhm.
One thing I wanted to find out is amongst the different things, because one thing I noticed is that a lot of what you do, right, involves a lot of multitasking.
Oh
In
yes.
my opinion, like you get
Yes.
into different sectors, you kind of talk about different things.
Yes.
There are calling shows that you've done. You've done things like, as you said, working with
Mm.
kids,
Mm.
like on
Mm.
media and several things. When you look back at all the different things, what are the ones that you enjoy the most? Because one thing I would say, I don't think maybe you would, I beg to differ. Would it be every single topic that you're as interested or enjoy as much? Or there are specific things that you enjoy? Maybe
Let me.
the calling shows, maybe the outdoor events that
Mm.
you would cover, but things like that. What would be the ones that actually stand out the most to you?
Okay, so let me start with the one that I don't. I like. I like the least.
Yeah,
That would be talking politics, especially Nigerian politics. It is emotionally draining,
it's stressful.
especially when the things you talk about affect your personal life. But the
Yeah.
people you're talking about it with actually think that you live in the moon and you don't live in reality, in the same reality with them. It's
Mhm.
very draining. If I have my way, I won't be talking about Nigerian politics. But unfortunately, I'm getting more and more grounded in Nigerian politics every day. So
Yeah.
it becomes a very unavoidable conversation for me. So, yes. And interestingly, one part I miss a lot is hosting midnight shows.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah. So I used to be so you see the pressures that you know now when it comes to
Then
midnight
you
talk.
change your
I am
voice.
chill. Jeez. I don't get toasters. Like they used to toast me, eh? If I was bread, I would have been popping every day. You know that kind of thing. So yeah, I miss my midnight shows because it was less stressful and I was relating with the real life issues people were having,
Yeah.
you know. And then that brings me to one of my very shocking revelation from one of my callers in one of my midnight shows when
Mhm.
I think that they were talking about that was in Treasure FM Port Harcourt.
Mhm.
We do this. I do this night shows. I think on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah, but I think Tuesdays. Yeah, yeah. So I that day what I was talking about if it's okay for spouses or partners to have access to each other's phones, right?
Mm.
And then this man called in and was crying. A man. He said, God bless you for this talk. No talk that in make person. Don't ever say that people should not have access to their partners phones. That's when he narrated that he has four children. He's an offshore worker.
Yeah.
He has four children. There was need for them to travel out. And in fact, it wasn't even about need for them to travel. Like, yeah, they have four children. It was in the process of just randomly picked up his wife's phone. He wasn't even in the habit of trying to go through her phone. That he didn't know what just got to him. Like, let me
Mm.
just surf her phone. And he saw a conversation between the wife and the friend.
Yeah.
The wife had all the kids. I mean, the friend had all the kids with the
What
wife.
the wife? Why he
And
was
these are
offshore?
his children. And he's an offshore worker.
He's probably been
And
taking care of them
the
for a while.
man, he was calling crying. He said, children, he's invested so much emotions in. Children, he was crying that day on air.
That's
And I
wild.
could feel, I wasn't even married then, but I could, I could feel the pain.
Yeah.
I could feel his pain at that time. And I said, God, my gender down a wicked. Oh. Like, how can my gender do this to a man? So yeah, so I miss, and I think that one of the things that I did enjoy with the night shows is that I felt like he gave people the chance to unburden.
Yeah.
So that most times what I used to do during my night show is that I let people be anonymous. So you don't
Yeah.
have to like say your name or where you're calling from, but you
Mhm.
just want to talk to me, you can talk to me about the issue without saying so. So that keeping them anonymous gave them the freedom to be expressive, to
Yeah.
unburden. I don't know if you do know that a lot of people may have things bothering them, but the fear of whom to trust with those information
Yeah.
makes them bottling. So if they have a chance, an opportunity to air it in a way that, they'll be anonymous. It makes it easier for people. So I miss that a lot.
Oh, okay. No, that's actually a great story because I was also going to ask you if you had any other stories, um, as well about people you either talked to in the industries that stood out, but obviously
Oh
that
yeah,
stood out
yeah,
recently.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So another part for me is I love to meet people. I love it when I host events, high profile events, and I
Mm,
meet dignitaries.
yeah.
And I like it when, because I'm a very big woman, Betsy.
Mm.
So I like it when, like, you're precious. Oh wow, people have, when they hear you on radio, they have this larger than life expectation of you. They feel
Yes.
like you're one big grown woman and all that. So when they now see me, like, I like that shock when they see me and then they see the way I talk on stage. I like your command. I like the way you carry the crowd. I like,
Yeah.
so this is you.
Yeah.
This is all that you are.
That's an interesting thing. When
Yes.
people do that to you, how does it make you feel? Because in general, you're just like any other human being, but because they listen to you every day, a lot
Mhm.
of them get more connected to you. They
Yes.
kind of, as you said, like even as a broadcast journalist, they trust the information
Yes.
that comes. It's almost that there's a different kind of expectation of who you
Yes.
would
Oh, there's a
actually
lot of
be.
expectation. Oh. So that's why in broadcasting, that's why the present day broadcasting doesn't work, or the owner personality thing, because people just come, jump on any information and carry it on air without. So you're supposed to research
Mm.
what has happened that is like, what are the other events that is close to that happened in the past.
Yeah.
What are the cases that set a precedence to that one that happened?
Yeah.
So you have to make your research so that when you're giving your information, you come from a very informed and equipped point of view.
And
You
going back
understand?
to what
So
you said, do you think people underrate the amount of work and skill and time put into the
I
craft?
absolutely do agree. I absolutely do agree because, because of how fun the job looks. People
It
just
looks
think that,
fun.
yeah.
It
So people
looks
just
fun.
think
Yeah.
that, oh, I just come, is it not open mic? Come now, we talk now, we freestyle. No.
Yeah.
So you have to actually put in a lot of work. You must do your research. In fact, in a functional media establishment, there's a research team. So when you hear some people on radio like Sheon Akimaloye, or you hear, all these guys who are interviewing a politician, and the politician quotes the statistics and
Mm,
then showing her corrects the statistics and says, oh, the statistics is this and not that.
mm.
There's a research team that immediately he quoted that statistics, they
They have
typed
checked
and
it
they
up.
told him through the talk back.
Yeah.
Do you
There's
understand?
somebody
So,
assisting you
so
and working
there
on
is,
with it.
there is, yes. So because of accuracy, for the purpose of fact checking and
Mm,
accuracy,
yeah.
you understand? So there is a lot of work. So what you see on TV is just that one man that is talking and you like him, but
Mm,
there are a whole lot of teams. I also think that those who work behind the camera, behind the scene, are underrated.
yeah.
They need to get their flowers because most of them really do put in the work.
And and it goes back to the point they put in a lot of those work and they are very comfortable being at the back of the limelight, right?
If
And
I if
stuff.
I choose to now be, I'll be behind the scene, man. I'm
Is
tired.
that the shy
It's
is that
just
the shy
no, not the
the
shy
shy you that wants to be
because
at the back?
the all this being in front like this is not big enough.
Pressure.
So let's go back. The pressure is worse. So I
Uh,
don't want. So
serious
let
pressure.
me be behind. I don't care. So as you
Mm,
grow, you realize that there is nothing in life.
mm,
So what people would normally kill themselves and struggle to get and all that, you find out that it's even not necessary killing yourself over it after all.
yeah.
So that's where I am right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's that initial stage where people like, let me get it first,
Mm.
and then you get it. It's like,
It's nothing.
it's
If I have my way, I would really be praised. Give me, in fact, right now, be like, say I go they do offshore work. I'll be drilling. Can I drill you? So let me just be doing something that will give me cool cash and I stay in my comfort zone. I don't have to be out there.
yeah,
If I don't have to be.
exactly.
That's where I am now.
Yeah,
But that's not what you tell a Gen Z that is trying to get into the
yeah.
profession.
That's what I'm
Because it's
saying.
not their business. They
They will
want
be
to be
like, let
out
me
there.
get there first. Let me
Exactly.
see what you have seen. When I get there, when I get tired too, I
I'll
will
go
leave.
back.
I will leave the industry and stuff like that. No, but that's actually really cool. Also, you do have something that you talked about earlier about your YouTube that you call updates with Precious.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I wanted to
Yes.
talk about that. I've seen a few of the stuff, but what is
Okay.
it about, and who? We'll get into it. Like, who are the guests that you look at and you enjoyed the most that you can actually pick out, or what about it do you enjoy actually
Okay.
doing and stuff like
So
that?
first off, I'd like to say that um, Update with Precious was initiated because I felt that the terrestrial media didn't, because of the regulations, they didn't
Mm,
give people the desired, the adequate opportunity to, air their thoughts as much as they would,
mm,
right? So the idea is, I know that there is an extent to which you would want to carry an information in terrestrial media, you manage it.
Yeah.
Right. For instance, it was in the news yesterday. It was in the news within this period
Mm,
that Kashim Shettima, the vice president of Nigeria, has said that the federal government is planning to build about 1,000 houses
mm,
for Fulani herders
mm,
across some states. He mentioned Kebbi, Sokoto, including Benue State.
mm.
Now, Benue State is not a home state for the Fulani man.
People, yeah.
You understand? So the PDP in Benue State said no, we cannot let, because these guys are nomadic in nature. You bring them now to build a ranch for them
They
with our
become
land. They
home.
become home and they begin to drag our land with us and all that. So
Yeah.
we don't want that. You understand? If I was going to say that on there, I will break it down and I will get down the history of how the Fulanis and all that have been, been warring with the Benue people for a long time. How many communities have been, massacred, as it were, because of the Fulani headsmen, and they call them Fulani farmer header clash. But I don't see it as a farmer header clash because I see it more as the Fulani people attacking their hosts. Do
Okay.
you understand?
So
But I can't
because
even
they're
say that.
nomadic in nature,
Yeah,
as
so
you
I
say.
can't even say that on air because you manage information on air.
Yeah.
You understand? So one of the reasons I thought or created Updated Precious is to give people an opportunity to be more expressive.
Yeah.
And then most times when I interview my guests on radio too, I tend to like curtail their expression because I wouldn't like them to go overboard.
Yeah.
It's against the rule. And I thought, okay. And then, what used to happen then is that people will call in on radio and say, Auntie Precious, why don't you let people talk their mind? Why did you open a station and you don't want people to talk their mind?
Totally.
They don't know that it's not my fault.
And
That
their
is actually the job.
job, yeah.
You understand? So when they keep saying that in my head, I'm like, I wish people will understand. So I thought that, okay, so why not have a YouTube channel where
Yeah.
people can be expressive, allowed to say their mind because it's an unregulated platform. And my guests, I will never have to stop him. Oh, yeah, it's enough. Don't go this direction. Go this direction. All I may need to do is to ask him counter questions. If
Yeah.
he's so, how about that? And that's actually how updates came about. And it's
But
been interesting because it's just barely a few weeks old, just about 3 weeks old,
okay.
and we're growing very well. And I'm looking forward to us going live soon.
Yeah.
When we start daily live, if possible,
Yeah.
we will be. That is when people can talk their mind and people can call in and say exactly how they feel. Because someone quite informed of what's happening in the political scene in Nigeria. So
Mm,
there's a lot to talk about politics in Nigeria. See, I
mm,
feel like Africans, Nigerians should not be disappointed and they shouldn't back down their interest in politics. You see, this interest that is ignited by this 2023 election, let
yeah.
it grow even worse. In fact, let it be more.
Yeah.
See, politicians don't like that you're interested in what they're doing.
Yeah.
And being interested in what they're doing is actually putting them on their toes.
And creating accountability too.
Exactly. Because we're talking about it. We know we want to be. So when you stop talking, it will be business as usual. Lavishing our money. When they talk, then they lavish. Imagine what they go do when we
When
really
you know,
talk.
so yeah.
Do you understand? So I want us to keep talking. And that's why I have that platform. Let's talk.
So are you
Let's
focusing more on the politics on the
I focus on
platform?
politics, governance, economics, economy, and health, a bit of health,
A
because
bit
I
of
feel
help.
like there are lots of, health stuffs that, don't often get that media attention. So,
Oh,
yes.
okay. No, that's interesting, especially with the whole political landscape in the country. I think that's actually very useful. But I was going through it. I was like, okay, that's
Okay, so then again, I was going
interesting.
to say that the choice of presenting it in Pidgin English was very. You
That's
notice, you
interesting
notice,
because
you
I
notice
wanted
I
to
used
ask
English.
if there was a reason whether you were, because what I wasn't sure is if you were mixing it,
It was,
English
it
and
was, it
pidgin,
was, I
right?
was, I was. So the idea, just like I talk to you now, I like
Mm,
to freelance. Let's be factual.
yeah.
When you and I yarn in Nigeria, or when people communicate in Nigeria,
Mm.
um, they barely do that straight on in English language.
No, you have to put small
We are
pigeon.
Africans. We will just somehow we embellish and small with pidgin English.
Yeah.
So why is it that when I come on, I'll just be straight jacket, so that is gone. So I felt like, to have a more relaxed conversation, a
Yeah.
conversation that will be more real,
Yeah.
that would, speak to who we really are.
Yeah.
Right. So if you notice, even though my guests choose to be expressive in English language, it doesn't matter. I
Mm,
go to ask my question for Pidgin English.
yeah.
Sometimes if they see something that I feel like is a bit overboard, I help them break it down
Yeah.
in Pidgin
In
English to my
pigeon.
audience. So
So
the idea is to carry as much crowd
people as
along
possible.
as possible because I feel like one of the reasons, for instance, why people feel like economy news is or economic news is boring is because of all the grammar that they speak.
And
But by the time you break politics and economic down to the language you understand, it becomes interesting. Oh, now what did they talk about with this? Ah, they come make a hard, like when they like hard mathematics. Do you understand? So
exactly, yeah.
yeah, so I just thought that playing with language, it's an easy way to, ensure that I fit in as many people as possible.
And for me, I'm always very curious about language, right? Like for me, the key thing for language is communication.
I
People
agree.
hold on to the little details, the grammars, how you said it, your accent. I'm like, did you understand me or not?
Did
Are
I
you
communicate?
are you communicating to a wider audience or not? Did the people get what you said? And the more harder colloquial or language or grammar you use, the less you're able to communicate with people. Are you really achieving anything if you're not actually communicating with them? So I'm always like, in a country like Nigeria, we all know there's a huge population of people that don't get the more complicated, um,
We have less educated
less
people.
educated people. So if you
So
want to actually communicate with them, like what you're saying in politics, if you want them involved and interested in it, you might as well want to actually say it in a way that they can understand what's going on. If not, they will lose
I
interest,
agree. I
right?
agree totally. I
And
agree.
as a country in general, at some point we'll have to, yes, we use English as our official language, but if we're going to do things like, let's say there's an election coming up and you want to get people to vote, do you really want to be doing those advertisements in English when there's a huge population? In fact, you might
So,
want to
so
do it some in
but,
local
but this is
languages.
the thing, that's the place I have issue with government. So government comes during election, or okay, during governance,
Yeah,
they make all their rules in English language.
yeah.
They want to address Nigerians in English language. They want to do everything they do in English language. But during campaign, that's when they know they'll break it down to Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, even to your Ibibio
So
language.
because they
They not break it down
understand.
because they know that they need to speak to you. So why don't you also speak to me about your job in different languages? I was one of those who did say that I wouldn't mind if President Buhari, then the past president, addressed us in Hausa language. It wasn't going to be a problem for me.
Yeah.
Let him address in Hausa language. We get an interpreter
Or he can do it in both.
because his English language I could not understand.
But even then, we
It was
can,
hard to comprehend his
what he's
English
saying.
language. Right? Why? Because he's struggling. It's understood, very understandable.
Yeah.
It is not his mother tongue. So there is, I mean, because it's not his mother tongue, there is every likelihood that he would not be as expressive as he would be in his mother tongue with it. So why not him express himself in his language? We get an interpreter. We borrow this English language, oh. It's
And
not
that,
by
but
force.
even then, we can do it in multiple languages. I'm going to use an example. Like Canada is a dual
Yes, the French
country,
and
French
English.
and English.
Yes.
Most often than not, the president of the country or people in high positions are usually required to be able to speak two languages. And when you go to events and stuff, they actually do almost everything officially in two
Two
languages.
languages.
Even the president gives speeches if he can. But for all I know, almost all of them have been able to speak in two languages. It's almost like you can't win the election or win stuff or anything if
Because
you
you
can
must be able to speak to your
speak to the
audience.
people, right? And I always say, like in Nigeria, the insistence on always speaking in a language that more than half of the population doesn't understand, right? Which is English. I get it, right?
So do you know that for me, I wouldn't even have a problem if we used Pidgin English to address our people. You
Is
know
it
why?
possible for me to advocate Pidgin as a
Because Pidgin English is more,
national
yes, because Pidgin English is
language?
more like an English that we can relate. Now, my
Yeah.
grandmother, well, my uneducated grandmother in the village
Mhm.
may not understand all the English that you and I are expressing now in,
Mhm.
but if I speak Pidgin somehow, she they understand them.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's like broken. That's why we used to call it broken
It's
English.
broken.
Because
Yeah.
it's broken down to her understanding.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So
And we
to her
keep,
level.
it's very innovative in my opinion. We keep adjusting and
We make it
innovating
look
to
like it's
communicate.
abomination.
Yeah.
I don't speak Pidgin, I'm at the bottom. I don't say hello. Hello. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
you make it so when you see someone, I mean, I had a friend who used to tell me that because I was hosting my TV show when I presented the breakfast show in Wazobia TV,
Mm.
because I speak in Pidgin English, I don't like you. I don't like you speaking Pidgin English on TV. It doesn't look good on you. You're too fine to speak Pidgin. I say hello. Is it your
Mm.
Pidgin? I was like,
Yeah.
what exactly is your problem? I'm a communication person.
Yeah.
So am I communicating with the audience that I need to communicate
Are
with?
they relating? Are they
Are they relating? Can
communicating?
they hear me?
Yeah.
Did communication take place? Was the message sent? Was it properly received?
By the person.
That's what matters.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely correct.
So I think we're a bit of classist in this country. So we'll just look at, what makes us look a certain way.
Elitists
Yes.
and all that. But yeah, I really think it's a conversation as a country outside of external factors that we actually need to sit down and actually ask ourselves if we need, in my opinion, at some point, shouldn't we be entertaining the conversation if pidgin language should be a second official language or something like that?
I would rather advocate for it.
More people will be more
I would
involved
advocate for it.
for
You
it.
know the problem we have in Africa? We have colonial mentality
Yeah.
because it's our pidgin English now. It is
It is
substandard.
it is low
substandard.
class.
It is low class. It is substandard. It is not to be heard of because it's
Yeah.
not the Igbo man that brought it. It
Yeah.
is us. Do you understand? That's the problem. See, that's the problem. That's exactly the difference between us and the Eastern Asians or the
Yeah.
Asians generally.
Yeah.
They were colonized by British the same way we were. But why did India not drop their culture? Why did they not drop their language? Can an Indian man speak today without you understanding that he's an Indian man?
In the way
You understand me?
the different
But
person.
even person, all this on let me not get to them. Even person will never cross border. If you hear their swing in his mouth, he'd be like, gosh, did you just came? Not come. Did you just arrive? Do you understand? But it's very unnecessary. I feel like we do too much. We're not true to ourselves.
Yeah.
I'd had an occasion. I'd had an occasion where someone wanted me to tutor the child on. I think it was diction. Yeah, it was phonetics. And I told the person, yeah, it's something I do. Phonetics is my bread and butter. It's something that I can deal with. And the person said, okay, fine. So you know what? Whenever my kid's popular person, I don't want to call the name, but a popular, celebrity's wife, And I said, whenever my kids travel abroad for summer holiday, they pick up an accent. But once they come back a few weeks or a few months, they lose the accent. I want them to be able to sustain it.
Yeah.
And immediately she met me and asked her, do you like how I talk? She said, yes. Do you like the way I talk, the way I'm expressing myself to you? She said, yes. I said, I cannot teach her how to speak like an Igbo person.
Yeah.
I'll speak her how to use proper phonetics because speaking is an act of combining sounds together.
Yeah.
So what makes your ability to know how to be a good speaker is your ability to know how to utter those individual sounds very well. Then join them together in a word and a sentence. That's what makes you a speaker.
Oh yeah.
So
and
you
also,
understand?
and
So,
for me
but
too,
don't
it's
tell
for
me to come and teach you to have an accent. Me, do I have an accent? Because I mean, I run a customer service for it's an aside job. I run an outsourcing customer service for a US and German based company. Most times when I call them, I like your accent. I say, thank you. I'm African. So before you come for me, I already tell you, I like your accent. I'm listening to you. I'm here enjoying how you talk. I like your accent. I say, thank you. Unfortunately, I cannot help it. I am who I am. So we do too much because you cannot force an American to stop being an American.
Yeah.
You cannot stop a British from, getting rid of their mother tongue.
So just to wrap up this section, I'm just usually I have a tradition because I call it no right no wrong.
Okay.
I like putting out a random question just to get people's opinion about such a thing, and it's very random. For this one, I just wanted to ask if you had just two options. You had to give up one. You had to give up one of these senses, either taste or smell. Which one is more important to you if you had to give up one?
I'll give up taste.
You give up taste in the time you love good smell and you want to make sure you keep your
for perfumes. I love smell.
Yeah.
The taste of the food is in the eating now. So when I eat it, I can just eat.
You just eat.
I can just eat and
just swallow. You just swallow.
To be alive. It doesn't matter whether the food is. Just eat it. But I love me some good smell.
You love me some good smell. And the reason why is just basically because you love smell and stuff.
I love smell. So I think the smell does something too. I feel like smell even embodies your personality.
Oh really?
Yes.
How do you mean? I'm curious.
I feel like smell is deeper than we know. We know it. A smell can define you. Yes. So, that's I love smell. Don't even ask me.
Do you want to break that down a little?
You just be contributing bottles of perfumes here now, so you're talking about it.
I think I'm curious because the main reason I ask those questions is the why, really, because everybody can have different reasons for why they do. But you said
the reason
in terms
I said
of it can define your personality.
Your smell precedes you.
Okay.
sometimes the smell goes before you. So someone would have perceived you, who dresses? Okay, when I used to be in Port Harcourt, for instance, Radio Nigeria,
Mm,
Treasure FM, I used to use a particular perfume. I will not forget that. I think that was Britney Spears' Fantasy
mm,
and Scandal by Jean Paul Guetta. I'm a perfume person.
yeah.
So either of those perfumes are on, or any other perfume I
Now I
use,
know.
or any other perfume I use. Like, I would be in the studio, even if I wasn't on duty, and my colleagues from the reception will be like, Precious, they around. Where should they?
Yeah, she's
Precious, they are. She did somewhere here. Where
yeah,
should they? So my perfume already goes before me.
yeah.
Do you understand that?
Oh yeah.
And
No,
same way,
that makes a
same
lot of
way
sense.
body
Yeah.
odor goes before you too.
Yes, now bad,
Your
now negative. Before you enter, be like, hey, wahala is coming. Wahala is
So
coming,
which within
everybody.
if that odor goes before you, smell is smell. So wouldn't you rather go for the better smell?
Yeah, so that's a sense you actually want to keep and you don't want to lose
Yes,
under any
yes,
circumstance.
yes. I don't
Oh,
like to lose my sense of smell at all, at all.
no, that's
Oh yeah, I
interesting.
can eat you if you smell good.
Now you don't need the taste, but you smell good, you just eat it.
Yes.
No, that's interesting. I always find that very curious just to make those little, just a little, why questions really
Okay.
to see how that goes. But thank you so much for coming on this
I
episode.
appreciate
I
it.
would hope to have you here back soon again. I really enjoyed it. A lot of insights
Thank you.
to a lot of the things that you do and your industry that you actually
Thank you.
partake in. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for listening. It's another episode of No Right, No Wrong. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. It's mainly on YouTube, but available in all major podcast forms as well. Thank you so much.